I find constitutionalism, um, economic fundamental conservatism concepts laughable, because I remember in 2003 a war was carried out. A nation was invaded by another nation with no solid evidence whatsoever, under conditions that turned out to be completely false. This war has cost hundreds of billions of dollars. No taxes were raised, no programs were cut, the money was borrowed, all of it. And, well, we're told now, after the fact, after the president has dark skin, that these people actually were upset, but they didn't say anything at the time. Memories are easily edited. In fact, the whole lesson of psychoanalysis and psychiatry should be that memory is a completely fluid material for the need of the moment. And the need of the moment, the political fantasy that is the Tea Party, is really more dealing with sense of self and commitment of self-esteem for members who cheered a kind of mumble-headed, unarticulate man who came into office with a surplus, ran up huge deficits, engaged massive wars, stomped all over the Constitution, left a huge deficit, and presided over a massive economic collapse. Particularly the housing collapse was very much foreseeable, and one had to wonder why there wasn't a more measure to bring interest rates up during his term, even though it may have cost him an election. And so now we see, essentially at the end of the day, all politics is fantasy, particularly in a pretty degenerate society that we're living in the West, where we don't really have needs. People aren't going hungry. Our main problem, particularly mine, is there's obesity, diabetes, high blood pressure. People have too much stuff, too many things. There's too much resources being used, too much carbon dioxide being produced, too much credit made available. And one of these unsustainable pillars has collapsed all at once, too much credit. And the system, from the people from Reagan, the belief that as an American you were born of a race that was beloved by God, and the generator, the white Christian Protestant inheritors of the earth, all other races and ideals would have to submit and be humiliated in front of you. When the Soviet Union collapsed, so many Americans, rather than seeing this as the democratic aspirations of the Russian people, flaunted this as a destruction by the superior God-endowed Americans into the face of another inferior race of human. And I think what we're seeing right now in the Tea Party and in this particular ad is the effort by this group to come to terms with a real anxiety-provoking emotional collapse in which their illusions about themselves have collapsed. And they run off and put Abraham Lincoln, no, not even Abraham Lincoln, because he was a progressive and for his time and a multiculturalist for his time. George Washington, a major slave owner. Also a great military general and the first president of the United States, but a slave owner. That's the illusion that they're returning to. And it's kind of illuminating to why particularly Abraham. I admire Abraham Lincoln so much that I even my own Freudian slip. I see Abraham Lincoln as the great American, and George Washington happened to be the general who fought an important war for America, and the first president, not necessarily a good or bad president, just the first president, not one of the great founding fathers, as is Hamilton, Madison, or Jefferson, or even Franklin, but the first president. And the thing that strikes me is he was a military commander. He was the first chief executive of the United States. He was Some people wanted him to be the king. And he was white, and he was a slave owner. I personally could not tell you one policy Abraham Lincoln had as President of the United States. And I would challenge any Tea Party person to tell you one.